Hey, welcome back. I'm Jenna, and today's episode is something a little special. We are going to use a book. Here's how today works. Jake is going to read you a short romance story. Your job right now is just to listen. Don't stop, don't rewind, don't look up every word. Just let the story flow into you, like music. Then, when Jake is done, it's our time. You and me. I'm going to talk with you about the story. I'll ask you questions, I'll share my thoughts, and most importantly, I want you to speak out loud with me, not just in your head. Because thinking in English is good, but speaking in English, actually moving your mouth, actually making the sounds, that is where real progress happens. And here's the thing about today's story. It's a romance, so it's going to have feelings in it. Big feelings, the kind that are actually really useful for learning English, because when you feel something, you remember the words. Today's story is called One More Coffee. It's about two people, a small cafe, and one question that almost never gets asked. Jake, take it away.
One more coffee. The cafe was called Blue Mornings. It was not a famous cafe. It had no social media page, no queue out the door, no pretty latte art that people photographed. It had 7 tables, one large window, and a chalkboard menu that hadn't changed in 4 years. But every weekday morning at exactly 8:15, a woman named Sophie walked through the door. She always ordered the same thing, a medium Americano, no sugar, with a glass of cold water on the side. She always sat at the same table, second from the window, facing the door. She always had a book with her, though she rarely read it. Mostly she just sat and thought, with the open book in front of her like a small, quiet shield. The man who made her coffee was named Eli. Eli had worked at Blue Mornings for 3 years. He was not the owner. He was not the manager. He was just the person who arrived first, unlocked the door, and started the machines. He was quiet in the way that some people are quiet, not because they have nothing to say, but because they are careful about what they choose to say out loud. He knew Sophie's order by the 3rd day. By the 2nd week, he had it ready before she reached the counter. She noticed. She smiled. A small, slightly surprised smile, like someone who is not used to being paid attention to. She said, "Thank you." He said, "Of course." And that was all. But it became a thing, a small, wordless thing between two people who did not know each other's names. Months passed. Sophie came every morning. Eli made her coffee. Sometimes she stayed for an hour. Sometimes she left in 10 minutes. On rainy days, she stayed longer, and Eli noticed this too, that she liked rain, or at least that rain slowed her down in a way that seemed peaceful rather than inconvenient. He did not know what she did for work. He did not know where she lived. He knew only that she took her Americano without sugar, that she preferred the second table, that she dog-eared her book pages instead of using a bookmark, and that when something in her book made her laugh, it was always quiet, just a small exhale through her nose and a private smile she gave to the page. He thought about talking to her, many times, full conversations in his head that he never actually started. One Thursday in November, Sophie did not come. Eli told himself it didn't matter. People change their routines. It was just coffee. She was just a regular customer. But he found himself glancing at the door more than usual, and at 8:45, when the morning rush had slowed, he stood behind the counter and looked at the second table. Empty, the chair slightly crooked from the customer before, and felt something he couldn't quite name. She didn't come Friday either. On Monday morning at 8:17, the door opened. Sophie walked in. She looked tired, the kind of tired that has been there for a few days and hasn't fully left yet. Her hair was down instead of tied back the way she usually wore it. She was carrying her book, but it was closed, tucked under her arm. She reached to the counter. Eli had already started her Americano. She watched him work for a moment. Then she said quietly, "I'm sorry I wasn't here last week." Eli looked up. In 3 years, she had never explained herself. Customers don't. They don't owe the person behind the counter their schedule, their reasons, their life. He said, "You don't have to apologize." She nodded. Then, after a small pause, she said, "My mother was in the hospital. She's okay now. I don't know why I'm telling you that." Eli set her coffee on the counter. He looked at her directly for the first time in a long time. He said, "Because maybe you needed to tell someone." Sophie looked at him. Something shifted in her expression, something small and careful, like a door opening just slightly. She picked up her coffee. She said, "Thank you," and then she went to her table, the second one, facing the door. After that, something changed, slowly, the way most real things change. They started talking, small things at first. She told him she was a translator. She worked with 3 languages, from home, mostly alone. He told her he used to study architecture before he decided he liked mornings more than deadlines. She laughed at that, a real laugh, not the quiet page laugh he was used to. It surprised him. It surprised her, too. She started arriving a few minutes earlier. He started making her coffee a few minutes later, just enough that it was still warm when they finished. Neither of them said anything about it. In January, there was a storm, the kind that shuts things down early and empties the streets by afternoon. By 2 o'clock, Blue Mornings had only 2 customers left. By 4 o'clock, it was just Sophie. She was still at her table reading, actually reading this time, properly, her coat still on because the heating in the old building was unreliable. Eli had stopped pretending to clean and was sitting at the counter with his own book. At some point, he looked up and found her already looking at him. Neither of them looked away immediately. She said, "You should close up. The storm isn't stopping." He said, "I know." A pause. She said, "Are you waiting for something?" He said, very quietly, "I think I might be, yes." Sophie closed her book. She looked at him with the expression she sometimes gave to a sentence in her reading, careful, considered, like she was deciding how to translate something that didn't have a simple equivalent. Then she said, "I walk home down Riverside. It takes about 20 minutes. In this weather, I imagine it takes longer." She picked up her bag. She stood. She put on her scarf slowly, deliberately slowly, and looked at him one more time. She said, "Good night, Eli." He said, "Good night, Sophie." The door closed. Eli stood very still for a moment. Then he reached for his coat. They walked home together in the storm that night, slowly, without rushing, the cold making everything sharper and more real. They talked the whole way, about languages and buildings and rain and bad coffee and good books and all the small things that turn out to matter. He left her at her door. He didn't ask for her number. She didn't offer it. But the next morning at 8:15, Sophie walked through the door of Blue Mornings, and Eli was already smiling.
Okay, tell me that wasn't beautiful, because it really was. All right, now it's our time, you and me. I'm going to ask you questions, share some thoughts, and I want you to speak with me. Don't just think the answer. Say it, out loud, right now. Don't be shy. There's nobody judging you. It's just us. Ready? Let's go. First, let's warm up. Repeat after me. I want you to say this out loud. Don't skip this part. This is how your mouth learns, by actually moving. Say it with me. One more coffee. Say it again. One more coffee. Good. Now this one. He made her coffee before she even asked. One more time. He made her coffee before she even asked. Excellent. Your mouth is warmed up. Now let's think. Question 1. At the beginning, Eli and Sophie don't talk. They don't even know each other's names, but there's already something between them. What is that something? How would you describe it in English? Say your answer out loud. Use your own words. Don't translate, just think in English and speak. Let me say mine. I would describe it as silent understanding. Two people who notice each other, carefully, quietly, without making it obvious. It's actually one of the most romantic things in the world, I think. Now say it with me. Repeat this phrase. Silent understanding. Again, silent understanding. Can you use it in a sentence? Try this one. Say it out loud. They had a silent understanding from the very beginning. One more time. They had a silent understanding from the very beginning. Perfect. Question 2. When Sophie comes back after her mother's hospital stay, she apologizes to Eli, and she tells him something personal, something she says she doesn't know why she's saying. Eli answers, because maybe you needed to tell someone. What do you think about that answer? Is that a good thing to say? Think about it. Say your answer out loud. I think it's a perfect answer. He doesn't say, "I'm so sorry," in a big dramatic way. He doesn't make it about himself. He just makes space for her. He tells her that what she did, opening up, was okay, that it made sense. Now let's practice saying something like that. Repeat after me. Maybe you just needed to tell someone. Say it with warmth, like you actually mean it. Maybe you just needed to tell someone. Now try it with feeling. Imagine a friend is talking to you. Hey, it's okay. Maybe you just needed to tell someone. Good. That's a real English phrase you can actually use. Question 3. At the end of the story, Sophie gives Eli a hint. She says Riverside takes longer in the storm. She doesn't ask him directly. She just leaves the door open. Why do you think she does it that way? Why doesn't she just ask directly? Say your answer out loud. What do you think? I think she does it that way because she's nervous, and because there's something beautiful about leaving space for the other person to choose. She's saying, I want you to come, but only if you want to. It's brave and soft at the same time. Let's practice a phrase from this part. Repeat after me. She left the door open. Not a real door, an emotional door. Say it. She left the door open. Now a full sentence. Say it with me. She didn't ask directly. She just left the door open. One more time. She didn't ask directly. She just left the door open. Great. That's a really useful English expression. Leave the door open. Remember it. Last question, and this one is personal. The story is full of small moments. A coffee ready before she asks, a table that's always hers, a walk home in a storm. Do you believe the best love stories are made of small things like that? Or do you think big romantic gestures are more important? This is your opinion. There's no wrong answer. Just think in English and speak. I think big gestures are easy to plan. Small things are harder because they require attention. They require you to actually notice another person. And to me, being truly noticed by someone, that's the most romantic thing there is. Now tell me yours. Say it out loud. Start with, I think, or in my opinion. Go ahead. Don't be shy. It's just us. That's it. That is real English practice right there. You listened to a story, you thought about it in English, You spoke your opinions out loud. You repeated real phrases you can actually use. That is not small. That is exactly how fluency grows. Same time next week, new book, new story, and a new conversation between us. I'll be here. See you next time.